Hi. Thank you, guys. Such an honor to be here. And yeah, as Patrick says, when he invited me to do this, I absolutely wanted to do it with Kate. Not only is she an amazing actor and talent and is so passionate and totally badass, she's also a good human, and that's so important these days. She was always kind, respectful, professional. So hire her whenever you can, because we want to keep the good people close. All right, that's it. My job is done. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got started in this sort of crazy business.
So yeah? No. Can you hear me? No. Well, I'm an actor, so maybe you can hear my voice. So my dad is a well-known actor, very well-known actor in Latin America. So it's not like I improvised this career. I grew up with it, and all the good and the bads about the career, and I started loving it. I did my first gig at 9 years old, which I loved because it took me out of school. So it gets me out of school. So I kept going to school, and then I started working a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and that time in Mexico, they were the cinema. Thank you. The worldly movies was not good, so they were like really cheap and tacky and really bad. Thank you so much. So the only good option was doing telenovelas, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, it's great because they go all over the world. Mexican telenovelas, as you know, they're dubbed in so many languages, and I learned so much, and it was amazing. I just got bored of kissing a different guy every time, but saying the same words, and it was not, yeah, because I started, unfortunately, I started leading since I started mostly in telenovelas, so I didn't have the time to have fun doing like the villain or, something else. And then I decided to come here actually, Gregory Nava, who did J-Lo's first movie, Selena. Eh? Selena, no, he did the nota, but I'm saying the first J-Lo's movie, Selena. Thank you, my friends. Like I know my thing. And so he was in Mexico when the Twin Towers came down. It was crazy. So he was in Mexico looking for Mexican talent. So he came to Televisa, the big studios in Mexico where I was shooting a telenovela, and he liked me and he hired me. But then the Twin Towers came down, the whole thing happened, and he couldn't get out of Mexico. He couldn't go back, actually. He could get out of Mexico, just not coming back here or New York. So we were talking and talking and talking. So he hired me, and then that was my first gig. But I was married to an asshole. And yes, really. And then I started getting a divorce. So the people in Mexico, because I was a very well-known Mexican actress, and he was a very well-known soccer player. So we were like the powerful couple, but it was terrible. And everybody knew what was going on. It was domestic violence, which is really crazy. So all the press was on top of us, on top of me, and this and that. So I decided to come here. I already had that gig, so it was really cool for me to come here already with a job. But after that, I didn't work a lot. And I started from zero, which for me has been amazing because it's great to go to an audition where nobody knows who you are, and if they hire you, it's because they like you and they like your work. So for me, it was a completely different thing, because in Mexico they will always see me like the telenovela actress and the leading lady, and here nobody knew who I was. So I started getting different kind of jobs, which was amazing. So I will always be grateful for the American producers and all the Hollywood stuff, because they opened me doors that they didn't open for me in Mexico.
And you played an amazing villain.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you basically had to reinvent yourself.
I did a couple of times. That was just one, but I had to do that before that time, not only as an actress but as a woman, and later as an actress and as a woman, and so things have happened in my life that they always ask me, what do you regret? That's not a word I have in my vocabulary because I think they're all experiences. I might be like, oh shit, why didn't I do this differently? Or why didn't I? But that's just me and makes me the woman that I am right now, for good or bad. But they're experiences, so I don't regret anything. I still have a lot of energy, a lot of things that I want to do and share. I built my own production company with my beautiful friends here who are my partners and that I love because we were three, women. A whole thing happened with El Chapo, that I couldn't go back to my country. They didn't hire me anywhere. So we were the three of us. We were like, oh my God. And they didn't, just because they were my friends. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. I mean, I would get arrested if I was going back to Mexico. So honestly, that was a horrible time. And where was the three of us? Smart woman. We've been in the business for so many years. It was like, what are we doing? Why are we waiting for someone to call us and to give us, the opportunity? We are good enough, the three of us. And so we created Chola Wood Productions, and we've done a couple of things, and we're doing a couple of things more, and I'm very happy.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the thing is there's a lot of challenges, especially as a woman, of color. And yeah, you just overcome the challenges and then reinvented yourself and made yourself better. Is there anything you want to speak to about any specific challenges, something that you think might help anyone get through some of the struggles they're going through?
Well, I also, not because of that chapter in my life, I started the company, but also because I felt as a Mexican Latina, not finding the right characters to play. It's always the stereotype, right? So we're always the bad ones, we're always the crooked ones, we're always or la puta, or the cleaning lady. Actually, when I watched the cleaning lady, before I knew I was gonna be a part of it, I was, and I was like, the cleaning lady. Okay, I'm gonna see who of my paisanas is gonna be the cleaning lady. For me it was like, okay, and suddenly I was like, oh, this is refreshing. It's not a Mexican. Which was really good. But, so it's for me different. It's a challenge to do the same role. It's not the same, they're different, but to make them different and to make them look different. That's why I love Ramona because she's she's a knowledgeable woman. She's been out there. She has class. She has very different from all the other types. But not only that, yes, and we are the cleaning ladies, and we are the prostitutes probably, and we are this and that. But we're also so much more. We're so much more. So I'm not only a Latina. For us as a company, as a Latina company, we're always saying we are not interested in Latino stuff, no. We're interested in everything that's mainstream, that appeals to every single one of us here. But I happen to be probably the leading lady or the producer or whatever, but I hate when they put you in this small window because we're so much more than that. So that's been a struggle for me for a long time.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. I can relate to that too. I started my career in front of the camera as well.
I know you did.
So I was an actor in Toronto, and I moved here to pursue that. But obviously, again, faced with the same kinds of challenges, I was like, oh, the exotic vixen or the kick-ass dragon lady. And I realized that the only way to tell the kinds of stories that I wanted to tell was to write. And so that's what sort of motivated me. And there's a story that I just became really passionate about telling, and it literally kept me up at night. My roommates joked that I should set an alarm clock for when to go to bed, because I would be up until the sun came up. And I, again, reinvented myself, created my own opportunities the same way you did. And I actually submitted that screenplay to competitions. I was using competitions as deadlines for myself, and that's actually how I broke through. I was submitting to, there was some like women-oriented or issue-oriented competitions, and Slam Dance came around, and it was like a big competition, and it cost more money. And I thought, well, I'm never going to even place, but at least they provide professional coverage, so I'll get some feedback on what's working, what's not working. Then I got a letter saying I was a semifinalist. Then I got a call saying I was a finalist. Come to the WGA. And when I went there, I introduced myself. I'm Miranda Kwok. I wrote Song of Silence. And one of the readers said, "Oh my God, when I read your screenplay, I started bawling my eyes out." And I thought, like, wow, if nothing else, that meant everything because I affected somebody. I taught somebody something, and I felt like, if nothing else, like that made all the difference. And then it turned out I won Slam Dance.
But you were saying the other day, how did you start writing? What happened there? You have to reinvent yourself too. As women of color, we are always struggling here and there. So, what was your biggest struggle after what you just said? I mean, what was it? What was your breakthrough writing in the business?
Well, I think even after I won, it was still a struggle because Slam Dance is known as an indie festival, and people would say, "I want to see a script," but they were looking for like horror films or thrillers and not like a World War II epic on sexual slavery. So it was a difficult project. It was a project that spoke to me. I actually did some counseling work when I was younger and worked at a rape crisis center, did work for women's shelters. And so this script that I wrote that I just was really passionate in telling was basically about the comfort woman. So during World War II, the Japanese military abducted over 200,000 women and forced them into sexual slavery to serve their troops as morale. So this is a story that was buried for 50 years because they were women and they were Asian women and nobody cared. It was such an important project, and that's, I think, what spoke to people when I won. But of course, it was still a challenge to get made. It helped to, a friend of mine finally. So I was still pounding the pavement. I was still trying to struggle to get my voice heard until somebody, recommended me to an agent and said, and he said, "Well, what about TV?" And I thought, well, I have no clue about TV. I guess it helps to have an agent. I am completely self-taught as a writer. I don't have any fancy screenwriting degree. It was just, I read screenplays. I read books on how to write screenplays. And back then it was just, it was more features and not even television. So he said, write a pilot. I wrote a pilot. People said, well, you've proven you can write. Now you have to prove you can write someone else's show. So I watched 3 seasons of House and wrote my first spec in 2 weeks, which surprised myself. And he said, "Oh, this has put you at the top of my pitching list." And then the writer's strike happened. And so, I was like, okay, starting over again. So I submitted to a few writing competitions, like at every studio. Well, they used to have diversity programs. Some of them still do. And so I actually got into the CBS program. I was a finalist for the NBC. And here's an interesting anecdote, and I guess this is my little break-in story. And this is a story of when one door closes, another one opens. And so the night that I would have been in the NBC program had I gotten in, there was a burlesque show in Beverly Hills, and I thought, oh, I'm going to invite some friends out to see this burlesque show. And one of my friends, Linda, came, and she was a stunt girl. I did a short film with her about hot lesbian biker chicks. And so she came out, and at intermission, she's like, "So what's going on with you?" And I was writing. I was trying to be a writer, acting and producing, trying to just do whatever I could. And I said, "Well, things are going well on the writing front." And I just had 3 meetings for Lie to Me. I just got in CBS, and she points to the guy next to her, and she said, "Well, you should talk to Steve because he just got his own show and he's staffing next week." And I had no idea this guy with a shaved head and tribal tattoos up both of his arms was Stephen DeKnight. And so, but a 5-minute conversation, during intermission, loud music blaring, and I didn't think anything of it because it's Hollywood, you meet people all the time. But the next day, Linda called and she said, well, Steve was really impressed by you, so do you have a spec? I sent my spec. Friday afternoon, Friday night, I got an email from Steve saying, I read your spec, loved it, and I hate everything I read. Can you meet tomorrow for lunch? Wow. Just to quickly wrap that up. So I met with Steve. The first thing he said was, you're the only writer who I've been able to Google and see her kicking ass online, because I had my martial arts and stunt work, which actually applies for Spartacus because it's gladiator fights. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, well, what else do you have? My only other script was the Comfort Woman script, which normally is a terrible sample for TV because it's a feature, it's historical, and it's about sexual slavery. But Spartacus is about slavery and ended up being the perfect sample. So 2 weeks later, after he sent my samples to Stars and Ghost House, I got staffed.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm just thinking, I hear you and talking about struggling because I think I believe I'm a successful woman because I believe that success is about paying your bills with doing your craft, what you love. And I am able to do that. But it's been hard, you know. Sometimes people see you as a very successful woman that you don't I'm still struggling. You know, I'm 53 and I'm still struggling. I've been in the business for so many years and I'm still struggling to get what I want to do. You know, and to have some stable, let's say, economic life, but also, working wise. And I remember when I got here in this country 24 years ago, I spent all my money, all my savings trying to get rid of my accent. Nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted me. I spent so much money because they told me, no, you have to have a perfect American accent. And I was like, but I wasn't born here. I'm already old because if you aren't born here, but you were raised here as a kid, you get, it's about the tongue, it's about something. So it was like, I don't know. I kept, spending money and studying, and I would never get there. I would get it much better. But for me, that was very crazy, especially in television. Movies were a little bit more, open to that, but not as it is today. What I'm saying is, it's a whole different world right now. And I think it's because of Netflix, because now on Netflix we can see all these amazing shows and you can read now. And Americans also are more open to reading subtitles and more open to hear my accent, which I think is amazing. So now it's a different world for all the young people here that are actors or whatever. I think it's a much better world in the industry for them. And I wish them all the luck. It's a better world.
Yes, well, that's why we hired you, was because you are such an authentic, powerful voice. Yes, you are Mexican, but also so sophisticated and intelligent and educated, and just personified this character that we wanted. So,
thank you.
But what I love about you also is that despite all the struggle, you allow that struggle to drive you and to inform you in what you want to do. And so right now, you are gearing up to direct your first short.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You have to do it, girl. You have to go do it because nobody's gonna do it for you. Nobody's gonna come and say, "Do you want to direct?" Fuck no. You have to do. You have to create your own thing. And I wrote this script like 20 years ago, and I left it there. I didn't want to hear about it anymore. And suddenly I said, I think now is the time. So I rewrote it. I did some, workshops here and there for the rewriting and everything. And then they told me, oh, you have to prove yourself because you're a woman and you're an actress, telenovela behind you. So you have to prove yourself as a director. You're a first-time director. So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? You have to do for a short film. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write it again. And so I wrote a short film about this big movie, and I think it's an amazing, it's been amazing, um, and also it's an amazing exercise, and I'm very grateful that I'm doing this because I'm gonna learn a lot for when the feature film comes. So I'm leaving tomorrow to Mexico. We're shooting next week. It's a 3-day shoot. It's about domestic violence, and I think it's a perfect timing right now because we cannot talk about it enough because it still is there. It's out there. So and it's not stopping. So I'm very excited. My boyfriend here is a DP, so I'm very well covered because he's helping me in the things that I don't know, and I'm not afraid of not knowing exactly the lens, or I know about lenses, but not the exact. And so I feel comfortable. I have an amazing team. It's not an amateur short film. We've all professionals. We've all been to, they're all academics. They're all amazing cinematographers, all the people there. So I know they're gonna, support me, and I'm gonna be under their wing, and it's amazing people. So I'm very grateful. Life is good. Yes.
Yes. And obviously, people are backing you because they believe in you, and because, again, you are a good person who has, always treated people with respect and everything. But do you want to talk a little bit about this project and what it means to you? I mean, obviously, there is some personal experience.
Sure. Yes. So this is based on my first marriage. I've been married twice. So thank God for divorce. It was my first marriage, and of course I'm Mexican. So I live with my parents till I get married. It's awful. And then I got married, of course, to the wrong guy, and everything went south, and I spent like a year and a half living with him, another year before as girlfriend boyfriend, and I think that was enough. But for me, it was embarrassing everything that was happening, and I was an actress. Everybody knew me. Everybody knew him, and it was already terrible. I was hurting, because I was in love. And then the press was all over us. So for me, it was really embarrassing, especially because it was domestic violence. So at the end, we divorced and whatever. And then after kind of a year, probably 2 years, I wrote everything because I was like, I don't want to forget all this. I don't want to be able to go through this again, and so many things that I was like, nah, this is too much. No. Some things that I think that are a little too much, but it's reality. So for me, it's very personal. It's not that I want to become a director per se. I just want to direct this because it's my story, and I have it here, and I know how it feels, and I know, and at least it's gonna be an honest short film, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage and bravery to do that. So
He's not gonna be happy, yeah?
but it is such an important story, and I think for a long time, women weren't allowed to tell those stories. Like it was, especially before Me Too, it was so
Exactly.
taboo.
Thank you. So I just quickly, this happened pre-Me Too, before Me Too. So you really felt alone. I didn't want to tell my parents. I was actually like kidnapped because he never let me see my friends again. My parents, it was like very, So you really felt alone. And then I talked to my male friends who are good guys, and they judge me a lot in the way that because they're good people, they can't believe that I was there, and why, and why didn't you leave, and what didn't you do, and it's just crazy because you have to live in the moment and live what I was living, and many other people. Because my story is nothing. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm talking to all of you. I survived but there's a lot that they didn't. So for me, what's important is not my story. It's just we need to keep talking about it because it's not enough. And now that it's after Me Too, which actually my short film is going to be in the real time right now because that's how it ends with a signal, and then we go to black. But not a lot of people knows the signal for help for women who's being abused or are being abused. So for me, it was important to do it different because I had to tell the story in 10 pages, and I wanted to do it just in the real time right now.
Yeah. Then thank you, and thank you for sharing. And I think that's it's so important, especially for people to understand. Like, yes, you are an intelligent, strong, powerful woman, but there are women who are in these circumstances because you're also empathetic. And that is what a lot of people in these circumstances take advantage of. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't understand, that it's hard to get out because you're trying to, you feel sorry for the other person and you're trapped. So I think it's
I
really
I
important.
left him totally in love. So that was already really bad, you know. You want to help him, but instead of helping him, he's sucking you in to this abyss of shit, you know. Um, I'm Mexican. I don't know a lot of words in English, so be aware of my English. I have like 5 words in English. Fuck, shit, and that's okay. You know, bear with me. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you've been through a lot too. You've
Yeah,
been through a lot. You know what? Unfortunately, I don't think I know one single woman that surrounds me that haven't been abused in one or on another way. Yes, it's crazy.
and also in more subtle ways as well,
Yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, everyone has been through it. I think, yeah, again, as women, like we've been through more challenges because of those circumstances. I mean, yeah, I went through a time in my career where I was struggling because, before Me Too, I was dealing with, a situation where someone was making very inappropriate comments all through the workplace, and when he realized I wasn't responding to any of that, he basically attacked my character. It's actually something I've never spoken about on a public forum. But because of that, I was struggling. I was struggling to, I couldn't get staffed, and I wasn't sure what to do. And what one Jennifer Crisanti, who's a great mentor and story person, she said, you know what you're going to do? You're going to write your way out of this, because no matter what, people cannot deny your talent. And my agent said, and my agent said, well, what about, pitching your own show? And I was like, I have no idea how to pitch my own show. I never read a pitch. I never heard a pitch. But again, I was winging it. I was like, okay, let me figure this out. I ended up selling my first show with A-list talent, as actually an Oscar-winning director and eventually an Oscar-winning talent as the lead actress. But it was a little before its time, so it it had a predominantly Asian cast. One day I hope to get it made, but basically because I was struggling, in my own field and trying to get work, because of the bad behavior of someone else, it allowed me to reinvent myself. So that is actually when I went from being a staff writer to a show creator. And even though that show never got made, that served as a sample that got me staffed on The 100 for 4 years, which ultimately led to my development deal for The Cleaning Lady.
Well, you did good. Well, yeah, I think we all go through a lot of stuff, especially us immigrants. I don't know who's not an immigrant. I think the whole world is an immigrant. You know, we all immigrate from one place to another. If it's not mentally, if it's physically, geographically. And they tell me you went to the United States, to Hollywood to seek for the Hollywood dream, And I always say, you know what? It's because they're neighbors. Maybe I should have gone to Guatemala. I don't know. But no, I'm not. I'm kidding. I'm very grateful for being here, and they open my windows. But I think that the real American dream is here. It's not geographics. As you said geographics. Because at the end of the day, sometimes, and I'm speaking as an actress, sometimes your career is here, sometimes it's down here, sometimes it's just steady like shit. And sometimes you just keep working, and sometimes and it's what makes it so amazing. Because there's not one day the same as the other, and so every day is like adrenaline coming to say, what the hell am I going to do? And it's reinventing yourself mostly every single day, especially right now. The industry is not doing well. Not here, not in Spain, not in Mexico, not in Colombia, where they used to work a lot. We used to work a lot in Mexico. Now everything is just slow, and there's shifting everywhere stuff. So let's just pray for a better thing, because when there's revolution, shit happens for the best. So I think that this is something that's gonna help us do better at some point, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I think we're all, pushing through the struggle. I mean, what I love about this group is there's so many people who are just doing their thing. And so many of us know what it's like to like have that project that you've been fighting for years. And it's that struggle that drives us. And there are so many disappointments. There's so many moments, as you said, where we hit our low point, and we just have to keep believing in ourselves. Actually, there's somebody here who was very encouraging to me. After I was going through that Me Too issue, and I met him. He's a writer, and he said, I teach a class at UCLA, and I want you to come and speak to my class. And so I said, sure, why not? And after I spoke, and he said to me, the reason I wanted you to do that was not just for the students, not just so you could, be an inspiration to them for everything that you've accomplished. I wanted you to see yourself in their eyes. And a few years later, as I was going through another struggle, he said to me, I want you to look back. I want you to go back and think about that person who spoke in my class. And I want you to imagine telling her everything that you're going to accomplish. And it brought tears to my eyes because I had never imagined that I'd create my own show. Never imagined that, that show would run for 4 years. So when you're down, you just have to remember that. And, you have people, you want to keep the good people close because those are the people who are going to keep lifting you up.
Yes, yeah. And I think also connections and luck, good luck, because I think that's everything. I mean, because vocationally, yes, maybe I want to be an actress. I was born and raised in a actor family, so I always wanted to be, and everything that I know about the business, I'm very old school, is because of my dad and the respect that I have for. I think we are blessed. To be working in the industry and movies and everything we do. I think it's a blessing, and I have so much respect for being on set. Set for me is como, like Virgencita de Guadalupe. I am very happy when I'm on set. I love it, but this is me from my core, and I think we all need to seek that really makes you happy to do, because it's not easy. Being an actor, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's everything. You have to give your everything and beyond. So you have to fucking love it to enjoy it, because it's already hard. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying this for if there are young actors here and this and that. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's amazing, amazing what we do, and it's amazing what you've done. I really admire you and respect you so much because you've been through a lot. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
We need, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so important, and I think that's what drives a lot of people here is being passionate about telling your story, telling your truth. So never forget that. Never forget that there's no one else out there who is like you with your experiences, and everything that you've been through, and that's your voice. That's what you have to share with the world. That is your art. So, we encourage everyone to keep going at it and keep going strong.
Yes, it's not easy, but it's amazing. At the end of the day, it's amazing, and everybody here that I've talked to, it's been a little while, but thank you so much. I think we learn about each other. I think we need kindness right now, kindness and respect and love and everything that we can, because we have to bear there, and hold our hands and it's coming, we're not, yeah, the industry and everything is being kind of off. And I think we need to be united and we need to be human and humanized, because they are normalizing really bad shit. And that I didn't grow up with that. My dad told me a lot of principles and morals and this and that. And I, lo admiro y lo respeto because of that, and because I really think like that. So we need to keep trying, and we have to hold our hands, and it's gonna get better. I hope so. Yes, it will be better.
Absolutely. So, as I said, she's one of the good ones. Hire her. Do we have time for questions or?
Yeah.
Any questions?
We can do some questions. So if anyone has any, please.
You're right here. Hi.
I want to talk about what you were mentioning earlier, Miranda, about going to class and having the teacher be like, what would you say to yourself in the seat? I'm also a domestic violence survivor, and I feel sometimes like a refugee. Like I had to leave my community, I had to leave my family. That person, the partner, was family to me, and so like traveling away from that home is what it feels like to leave a domestic violence situation. It's like everything you know is there. And Kate, if you could go back to yourself before you decided to leave, what would you tell yourself?
And probably bear with yourself. You're gonna be okay. Respect and the process, because one of the things that happened to me, it was that when the first time that I saw myself in the mirror after a year and a half, because I would never see myself in the mirror, I said, "Huh, who is that woman?" I was looking old, I was looking ugly, I was looking just not like me, and I didn't respect that person. So I said, not one more day, and I left that moment. So I think that we all have our own process, and we have to trust ourselves that this will come. And for some reason, you are in that situation, but there's only knowledge about it at the end. So, because right now it's like, why did I do this? Why didn't I see this? Why didn't I? Well, because that's the way it was. And yeah, stop it. Don't blame yourself, because of course, for years I blamed myself. But then it just stop it. These guys are professionals. Because you're in love, and then they come and they cry their eyes out and they beg you for pardon, and they want you to help them, and it's exhausting. So yeah, that's just believe in yourself. It will come.
Miranda, I had a question. So, I guess I'm sure when you're staffed, you have the liberty and the pleasure of being with a whole bunch of people and being on their schedule. But you've written so many things, especially when you were struggling to the point where you pitched all these projects that were completely created by yourself. And you say you were self-taught. So I'm curious, do you have like a structure or a process that you've developed for yourself as a writer, or does it just kind of change and you like just go with the wind, like wherever, or like what has helped you in kind of finding, I guess, the discipline to see your own projects from beginning through end?
I think I'm still learning. I think, in the beginning, I had no structure. I was just, winging, and I had stories in my mind. I had scenes that were just, playing out in my head that I felt I had to write down, and so I had to learn structure. I had to learn character arcs, and I think still today, it's when I'm motivated by something or inspired by something, I still have to figure out, how to make it accessible as well. And I think, that was a fun thing with the cleaning lady, which, was basically the story of an immigrant who, was struggling to support her son and basically find a medical, solution for her son. But at the same time, what made that a successful show was putting that into a crime drama and putting it into this framework. So you had the stuff that was meaningful and heavy, but at the same time you had the appeal of the crime show. You had the moments of levity and joy. There was a real sisterhood with Tony and Fiona and what the love they had for each other. So I think and the wish fulfillment of Vegas and just showing that these are also despite the heaviness in their lives, they're going to go out and they're going to dance and have a good time, right? So I think it's showing being able to tell these heavier stories, but show the full character, a full spectrum of who these people are. Because we've all gone through the shit, right? But at the same time, that's not the only thing that defines us. So being able to just flesh out your characters, in many ways, is what's going to bring them to life.
I love that. But also, is there a structure to your day? I think it's what I meant. Do you you're like, I wake up in the morning and right away I do my morning pages, or anything like that?
No,
But
I have no
also love
structure.
that. Thanks for sharing.
I tend to still write late at night because that's when everything goes quiet, and I get easily distracted like anyone else. So at night is, when I'm getting really tired and it's like, well, I really better buckle down and do something now, is when I still tend to do, I think, my I don't know if it's the best writing, but the bulk of my writing.
Thanks.
Hey, for both of you, so much of this career in any form of creativity is all-consuming and all-encompassing, especially to get to a point where, as you said, Kate, you are able to sustain yourself with your craft. On the flip side, though, that well can run dry. What outside of work motivates you? What inspires you? What anchors you in not only your day-to-day, but also in this continued pursuit to have the energy as well as the voice to continue to build and tell your own stories?
Many things, but first of all, my family. My families, they ground me every single time, and they let me know that it's an amazing world, even though if I'm struggling here and that, but that there's love out there. There's more good people than bad people, and that you're gonna reinvent yourself. And also young people. Young people brings me so much energy, and I learn so much from them because they're gonna be our next Scorsese, our next, De Niros. So I believe in youngsters. I believe in this hunger and passion that they have. I don't know if because I'm Mexican, but I'm always very passionate and I talk like this, and and my dad and my family and all that. But that's just the way I am, and they taught me, and my dad, before he was an actor, he was going to be a priest, which is really funny. So he's very conservative. So for him to have a divorced twice divorced. um, it's kind of, but they're learning. So they are open now to what's going on right now in the world. So now I have to, for like, I'm going to deviate right now, but AI and all this techie stuff that I'm like, what? No. It's like, I have to learn because if not, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be done. So I guess every single day there's something new, and I try to see and seek the best out of them, because if not, then you're done, I guess.
I like to go out and do stuff and live my life. There's definitely, you watch TV, you want to know what's going on, what's out there, but, there's nothing like experiencing things in life, on your own terms and exploring and traveling. The project I'm working on now with Warner Brothers is kind of inspired by my own family. It's like a multi-generational family drama. It's kind of like a Joy Luck Club meets This Is Us. And what I was struggling most with was actually my character. And, because I had, the other characters in my family, but figuring out what the story is in my character. And I ended up traveling for 3 weeks. I went to Portugal and Spain, and there was a part of me feeling guilty that, I wasn't working on my thing. But I got the notes as I was away, and it was, it was brewing, and finally was like, what I had, that's not the character. That's not who she is. And I realized that that I'm recently reclaiming myself. I'm out there, I'm traveling, and I remembered the spirit of who I am and who I was. And I infused that, and I just pitched that to Warner Brothers, and they're like, wow, like, I don't know what happened to you, but like, that's it, and we're excited about this. So.
Hello. As a Latina in the industry, there's so many times where I'm literally the only minority in a room. So you two are inspirations to me. But with that, how do you navigate that kind of perspective? If, a minority woman in the industry, there's a lot of times when you're literally the only person speaking from your own voice. And it can be very easy, I guess, for myself to feel a little bit of, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but very much insecurity, to be true to myself, but also true to the accessibility of what people are looking for. How do you navigate that when you're searching for stories to sell or to play in this industry?
Like they say, I always see everybody naked, and then I feel good. And that gives me power. I don't know. I think you have to overcome that insecurity. I am very insecure. Still, I am. But I try to learn. I always say that I want to be the stupidest person in the room because I want to learn, and I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? So I want to learn with the people that's right, and be surrounded by the greatest people, so I can learn and I can come, to their level and be better every single time. So I think that's very important, that we surround with the right people, and that's a talent. It's not easy. So being a minority, first of all, I don't feel like a minority because you know what? I was here first. Mexicans. So we were here first in California, so I don't feel like I'm a minority at all. Yeah, so we have, Oh yeah, thank you. So I did this movie, Bad Boys for Life, and they called me, and I was like, oh my God, okay, so I got the part. Will Smith was very nice, I knew him before, so I did this movie, but it's, in the table read, everybody was taking notes about what I said, and I was like, this doesn't happen in Spanish. Nobody cares, like they don't give a shit about what I say in Spanish. What is going on? And I realized that they wanted to be authentic, and they wanted a Mexican to play a Mexican, an actual Mexican, and they were asking me a lot of questions, and then it was surprising for me to see on the paper and then saying the words that I told them it was the right thing to say, or the right Spanish, or the right things for a Mexican, this and that. But it was also, for me, that was amazing. And I think we have to know how to choose our next jobs, because my manager back then said, no, Kate, they're treating you like shit, but only because you're Mexican. They're paying, they're paying you nothing. And literally, they paid me nothing, like no cero, pero casi cero. It was very bad, insulting. So my manager was like, and I'm like, shh, hold on, hold your horses, my friend. Let me choose what I want to do. I think this is a great opportunity. I've never been in a franchise movie. I want to know what that is about. And Will, I know Will and he's asking, it's like, I'm going to do it. But she started saying putting in my head that it was because I was Mexican. And I didn't feel like that until she told me. And you know what? Probably it was like that. I have no idea, and I don't know. But at the end, how's the name of the movie called? Bad Boys. So yeah, it was literally, they made millions, and I did nothing, and not any other girl in the cast. So I was like, and I'm very grateful. It's not that I'm complaining. I'm just saying, you know what? If I do something and I ask you, please come and do it for cero. If I do a lot of money, I will come back and give you a little bit of something, to thank you for doing it. So it's the kind of things, and I still love Will Smith. I don't have nothing against him, and I think it's an amazing movie. I'm very happy I was there. But these are the kind of things that you're going to see in your career, that you're going to encounter in the industry, and you have to make the choices. It's your life, it's your career. So feel good about it. If the choice is yours, you make the decisions of your career.
Yeah. I think your question goes back to what I was saying about finding your own voice and telling the kinds of stories you want to tell. The way the cleaning lady came about, well, actually, because it's an interesting story, I was on the show called The 100 for 4 seasons. And after the 3rd season, my contract was up, and I went out for staffing. And I went back to the showrunner of The 100, said, I got another job offer. And he said, no, we want you back. But the show hadn't been picked up yet. So, the number 2 was like, well, can't just hold her. And he's like, well, let me see what we can do. So he went to Warner Brothers, and they reached out, and they ended up offering me what's called a blind script deal. And so, essentially that's a development deal. And so they said, if the 100 came back, you promised to come back, and we will also give you this blind script deal. And if the 100 doesn't come back, you still get the deal. So of course I said yes. The 100 came back, so I was working full time on the 100 while I started developing the cleaning lady. And basically developing that on evenings and weekends. But how that deal worked was essentially I met with a development team and pitched them a few ideas. They pitched me a few ideas of shows that were available. So they had optioned this Argentinian format, La Chica Colombia, which became the cleaning lady. Here's a Korean format. Here's a book that we optioned. Here's like a newspaper article. Like what's going to inspire you? So, I looked at a few projects, and I thought, the cleaning lady really speaks to me. Having a story of an undocumented immigrant who's a doctor in our country, but and none of her credentials, pass over. But as an Asian woman, I was like, what's a story that's more authentic to my voice? And so I thought, well, what about a Filipino character instead? And and the response was like, oh, what's that? Like, we've never had a Filipino story before. So they were leaning in, and because I was working full time, all I was thinking was like, shit, I have to give them something. I have to develop something. I wasn't thinking about what was going to sell or what the marketplace wanted. I just thought, like, what's the story I want to tell? I want to tell the story of, these two women living in a household together, raising their kids as single mothers. I want to tell, throw in a bisexual character. I threw in the elements that I wanted to tell. And at the end of the day, then Warner Brothers said to me before I pitched, they said, you know what? There's a real audience and appetite right now in broadcast for diverse voices, marginalized stories. So we think you should actually pitch to broadcast before cable. Because at first I thought, like, who's going to buy this? This is like an Asian female Breaking Bad. Like, this is only something that would be on streaming. So I was like, sure, whatever. You want to pitch it to broadcast, I'll do whatever you want. But this is a story I want to tell. I don't want to change the story. And they were okay with that. And I ended up pitching 5 networks, and Fox was the first, and they picked it up right away. I never even got to streaming. So that to say, tell your story. Tell your story, because that is what is going to come from your heart. That is what's going to, resonate. Because if it comes from an authentic place, that is what speaks to other people. And it's a weird thing, because the more specific you are, the more it actually resonates on a broader level, because you're speaking the truth. So that's what I'd say to you. Find your voice and speak your own truth.
At the end of the day, you're going to sleep with yourself.
Yes.
So you have to make yourself happy, not anybody else, because you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna make everybody happy. Make yourself happy, and then you're gonna be in another level and hear your voice, as you said. Yes.
Yeah.